Hey everybody, welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to show you how to 3D model this skateboard in Cinema 4D. This is a beginner's tutorial just to kind of get you started with Cinema 4D. Make sure you like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and now let's get to it. So here we are in Cinema 4D. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create, no, we don't want a cube. We're going to create a plane, and this is going to be our base to start modeling the skateboard. Then we're going to resize it, and we're gonna go to this view right here. I just clicked on the middle button on my mouse to be able to see these four views. If you don't have a middle mouse button, you can always use this view right here. Here we are, and we're going to resize this right about there probably. And then as we can see, we have all these segments in the plane, and we don't need all that, so we're going to make sure that we have the plane selected, and we're going to go to segments, and with segments we're going to leave it down to 1, and the height segments we're going to do exactly the same thing, down to 1 right there. Perfect. So now we're going to make this plane editable, and we do that by clicking on this button right here or pressing the C key. So we're going to do that right there. And now we're gonna go right here, and we're going to click on this button right here so we can select the edges. And to be able to select the edges, you have to make it editable first. So that's a very important step. So we're gonna select this one right here, and we're gonna press the shift key, and then we're going to select the opposite edge right here, and then we're gonna go back to our top view, and then we're going to right click and click on extrude. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to basically extend the edges, and we're going to click and we're going to drag the mouse. And as you can see, you cannot see what I'm doing right now. So if you let go and then you go back to your view, now we can see we weren't able to see it from the top view, but we were actually extruding the edges, but they were going straight up. That's why we weren't able to see it from the top view, but that's okay. We don't need them to be straight up, we need it to be on an angle. So we're gonna go to, without clicking off our extrude tool, we're gonna go down here to this menu right here of the extrude tool, and we're going to change the rotation of the angle of the rotation. So I did it before, so 75 was a good number. We're actually going to extend these a little more, maybe right about there. We have to make sure that we have enough room to create a curve right here to make it round. Now that we have that, that's looking pretty good, and we can take a quick look here, and I'm pressing the number 3 and the left mouse button to be able to rotate my view like this, just to kind of check it out. That looks pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to round up the edges right here because we want it to look like an actual skateboard. We are going to click on this button right here to be able to select the points. And as you can see, as soon as you click on the button, you have these points right here. We're going to select all 4 of them on all 4 corners. And then we're going to go back to our top view, and we're going to right click. Whoops, I messed it up. We're going to select again. Make sure you have them all selected. Okay, and then we're going to right click, and then we're going to click on bevel. And here we're going to increase the offset, but as you can see, it's not round, it's still very rectangular. And to be able to fix that, we're going to actually increase the subdivision number right here to about maybe 12 is good. Let's do 10. 10 sounds good. And then we're going to increase our offset until they kind of meet in the middle. And that looks pretty good right there. Then if we go here to our perspective view and rotate it a little bit, that looks pretty good. So we're going to now change our selection tool to our edges selection mode, we're going to select both edges right here. We're going to right click, and now we're going to bevel the edges. With the bevel tool selected, we're going to click and drag, and you don't have to make it super big. It depends on the size of your skateboard, but for mine purposes, that looks pretty good. Right about, I would say right about there. This is looking really good right now, but the board itself is looking a little thin, so we have to make it a little thicker so it actually looks like a skateboard. So in order to do that, we have to make sure that we are on our polygon mode right here, and then we have to select all these polygons, and then we have to extrude the board. So select the first one, and with the first one selected, press Ctrl A, and that's gonna select all the polygons of your model. With all the polygons selected, right click on the selected polygon, and then we're going to go to extrude one more time, and then we're going to switch our view so we can see it from the right side, and then we're going to drag the mouse a little bit, and we're going to go to about, I would say 10, actually I would say 8 right there. And now we're going to go back to our perspective view so we can take a second look from a different perspective, and that looks really good. But as you guys can see, the bottom part is empty, so we need to close that. And to do that, we're going to go back to our extrude tool menu right here on the right side, and we're going to check the create caps, and that's gonna close up the gap that we had at the bottom, the empty cap that we had at the bottom. We're going to go back again to our 4 view windows, and then we're going to create a cube. We're going to change the size of it. We can use these little yellow lines to change the size of the cube. So if for some reason you cannot see these yellow lines to be able to change the size of the cube, make sure that your model mode is selected under the model. So it's actually under, if you click and hold, you can see that there's 3 different options. Make sure the first one on top is the one selected. And then if you click on it, you should be able to see these yellow lines to be able to change the size of the polygon or of the cube in this case. All right, so now we're gonna change the size of it. We're gonna make it way smaller. That's why I like having 4 views, because you can see it better. And now we're gonna go down here, and we're going to bring this down here, and we're gonna bring it back out. We're gonna put it right here. We're gonna make sure that this is looking good from different perspective. Let's bring it back down a little bit more, and let's see how big this is. We're actually gonna make it a little bigger, a little taller, I should say. So right about there, and then we're gonna bring it back down and make sure that this lines up correctly, and that looks pretty good. And this quick view here, it's a little too thick, so let's make it a little thinner, and that looks pretty good. Actually, maybe a little more, right about there. Okay, perfect. That looks pretty good. And now we need to, whatever we do on the left side or the right side of the skateboard, we need to basically clone it or repeat it on the opposite side. So the easiest way to do that is using this tool in Cinema 4D that is called the symmetry tool. So basically the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put this cube into a null. If you come from the After Effects world, it's kind of like if you were pre-composing something. So in Cinema 4D, you can add polygons, or you can add different elements or models into a null to group them all together. So you're gonna select the cube, and then you're gonna press Alt G, and that's gonna automatically create a null with the cube inside that null. If you open that right here, you can see that my cube is right there. We're going to go over here, and this is the subdivision surface, and we're going to click on it, and then we're going to click on symmetry. We need to make this cube a child of the symmetry, and to do that, basically we just click on the null and then we bring it under, but make sure that the arrow is not pointing to the left but it's pointing down, because if it's pointing to the left it's going to put it on the same level, but what we want to do is actually we want it to be in a level down, or be a child of the symmetry. So that once you see the arrow pointing down, you're going to let go, and now the symmetry is being applied to that cube. But as you can see, it's not doing anything. And the thing is, like, you have to click on the symmetry, and then you have to go down here to the symmetry menu, and where it says mirror plane, make sure that the right plane is selected. So if I go ahead and click on XY, now you can see that what I created on the right side, the cube that I had on the right side, is cloned, or not really cloned, because don't get confused. There's a different tool that is called a cloning tool, so do not get confused with cloning. So I'm going to stop saying cloning, but it replicates symmetrically whatever you're doing on one side, it does it on the left side. So now we have both right here, and it's looking pretty good. So now we're going to add a new polygon. We're going to use a cylinder. So click on the cylinder, and that's going to put it right in the middle of our scene. And now it's pretty big, so we have to, again, using the little yellow lines with the yellow dots, we're going to resize it. And we're going to do it very quickly like this. It has to be kind of thin, and it has to be way smaller, and also the orientation needs to be different. So with the cylinder clicked on, we're going to go to the object, and then down here it says orientation plus Y. We're going to select orientation. We're going to change the orientation to plus X, and now it's facing the right direction. And now we're going to place it right about here, and we need to make sure to be able, I'm clicking the H key to be able to see everything that I have in my view. For example, if I'm zoomed in like that, if I press H, it's just gonna bring me right back to be able to see everything that I have in my view. So making sure that this is in the middle, then we're going to extend it a little bit right about there, and that looks pretty good right there. And let's see what this is looking like. That's looking pretty good. And now we're gonna go here to the display, and we're going to change this to the, I don't know how to pronounce this, but to be able to see the lines, we're gonna click on that. So our cylinder is looking good, but the edges look a little jagged, so we're gonna smooth it out a little bit. So we're gonna click on the cylinder, and we're gonna change the segments, the number of segments. And for the height, we don't really need any more segments than 1, so we're just gonna leave it at 1. And for the rotation segments, we're gonna increase it to about 30, so it's a little smoother. That looks better right there. Okay, that's pretty good. Now we're going to bring that cylinder into the null, so because we need another cylinder for the other side, so we're going to drag it, and we're going to bring it inside the null. And now, as you can see, we have both cylinders on both sides. Perfect. Now we're going to create the wheels out of this cylinder. So we're going to duplicate the cylinder by pressing the Control key and dragging it down, and that duplicates the object that you selected. So now we have 2 cylinders, and we're going to rename this cylinder wheels, and so we know which one is which. And now we're going to resize it just like this, and we're going to move it to the edge about here, and then we're going to increase the size right about, we want them to be big, but we don't want it to touch the actual board. So right about there. That looks pretty good. And now we're actually, that looks pretty good, but I'm thinking I might want to add a few more segments for the wheel, maybe to 40, right about there. And then we're gonna round it up a little bit, so making sure that the wheel's cylinder is selected. We're going to go to caps, and then we're gonna check on the fillet button right here, and we're going to, whoops, add a couple more segments right about there and increase the radius to 4 centimeters, and that looks pretty good. Awesome, that looks great. But now we have a little problem here, not a big problem, but a little problem, that we have our wheels, both wheels on the right side, but we need them to be on the left side. So we could approach these in a couple of different ways. We could duplicate these cylinders and just literally move them to the left side, and that's definitely a good option. But the easiest way to do it is using the symmetry one more time. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new symmetry, and we're going to bring this symmetry inside right here, and then we're going to grab the wheels and we're going to make them a child of that symmetry, and making sure that arrow is facing down, we're gonna let go, and now we have wheels on both sides and it's looking pretty good. That looks really good. Now we're going to round up the edge right here a little bit so it looks better. So we're gonna click on the cylinder, we're gonna check on the fillet button one more time, and then we're going to change the segments right here, maybe to the radius to about 1 centimeter, and then the segments to maybe 3 or 4, whatever you think looks good. I think 3 looks good. We don't need 2 segments here. We're just gonna leave it down to 1, and that looks good. Make sure you save your work pressing Ctrl S. And at this point, the last thing that we are going to do in this tutorial of simple modeling for beginners in Cinema 4D is we're gonna fix this part right here, because this is the only part. This cube right here looks a little funky, so we're gonna make it look a little better. So we're gonna click on the cube, I'm gonna change our view. Actually, we're gonna click on the cube, whoops, click on the cube, and then we are going to make this cube editable by pressing the C key, and now the cube is editable, not edible. And then we're going to change our mode to the edge mode, and we're going to select this one right here, and we're going to select this one right here. Actually, no, we're gonna do it one at a time. We're gonna select this edge right here, we're gonna change our view, and we're going to move this up to about here, and then we're gonna go back to our main view right here. We're gonna select this edge on the other side, and we're gonna go back to our right view, and we're gonna do exactly the same, and that's it. If for some reason your orientation of the tools are not facing the correct way, then you just click on this button, and then we will show you the actual orientation. This is the orientation of the world of your whole scene, and this one is the orientation of your actual polygon, or the edge, or whatever is selected. All right, cool. So now since we have this cube under the symmetry right here, this should be done on both sides, and as you can see, it looks pretty good. Awesome. So let's add very quickly this physical sky so we can make a quick render, so we can take a quick look of what this looks like. And looks good, looks pretty good. I think we made a really cool skateboard. Cool. On the next tutorial, I'm gonna show you how to actually add some textures and some lighting so you can create something that actually looks really cool. This is the first part, just basically modeling, and then on the next one we're going to I'm going to show you some texturing, some coloring, and some lighting. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you liked it, make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.